Back following the 3 suicide bombings in Nigeria by abducted young girls, speculation is rife that Nigeria's Boko Haram has employed new terror tactics. And today witnesses say simultaneous bombs exploded at a bus station and opposite a university in the central Nigerian city of Jos. Their journalist Solomon Izang Ashoms joins us in the studio to talk to us about the militant group's latest tactics. Solomon, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure. Now, Boko Haram has not claimed responsibility for these attacks currently. What is the situation? And using young girls, what exactly is happening there?
Well, it's quite ironic because where the 2 bomb blasts went off this evening in Jos. I'm actually from Jos. You know, my family is still there, my mother is still there, my brothers and sisters. And this happened just on Bauchi Road, close to the university, close to the park, where a lot of people go to take taxis. And I think for Boko Haram, it is a situation where they're beginning to lose grounds. They're beginning to feel threatened because now you have a regional force fighting Boko Haram from Niger, from Cameroon, from Chad. Normally what they do is from the forests, from the northern part of Nigeria, they go into Cameroon and they go into Chad and they get a lot of support from there. They recruit from there. They also get some sort of economical support from there. They go in, they take over towns and they take their cattle and they take their properties and they have to resell it and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a situation where they're beginning to lose ground and they're beginning to use every other tactics. And I think the tactics of using young children as suicide bombers is not new. We've seen Al-Qaeda use that before. We've seen different rebels across the world using it over time, and I feel Boko Haram is definitely I think they're using that tactics right now.
Now, Solomon, why in particular young girls? Because if we look at the recent days, it's been girls. Why girls and why not boys?
I think there are different ways to look at it. First, you have to look at it maybe from their agenda, from their Islamic belief. Trying to see how they could use the Quran to tell girls, look, you're going to be fighting for Allah. And going out there and fighting, losing your life, you're going to definitely, go to heaven. But also we have to look at it, in a society where you want to show authority and influence, the best way to do that is to use the vulnerable and using not boys, like you said, they're using girls. So obviously the society, everyone is definitely going to be really sad, is going to feel there's no sense of security here because I feel girls are very vulnerable and the society is supposed to protect them. But if you're not doing that, then it's going to send fear. So I feel that's Boko Haram's way of really sending fear across the society. And the other part of it is maybe the girls are not even aware that, they're going out there with a bomb, strapped around them, because a lot of girls in northern part of Nigeria, for you to understand it, a lot of them are not even encouraged to go to school. They're not educated, they're illiterates, and a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, 11-year-old. So you just follow instructions. And girls in the northern part of Nigeria, a lot of areas, are almost like slaves. They are second-class citizens. They're not put at the same level with boys.
Now, Solomon, let's just touch on the issue of the force that has been put together, that is Cameroon, Niger, coming together with Nigeria to assist in the fight against Boko Haram. Why did it take them so long to put together this force and do something about the insurgency that's happening in Nigeria?
I think this is pride from the leadership. The leadership feels we can handle it, or the leadership feels, no, we can do this. And you also have to understand that Nigeria has been a power force in West Africa for a long time. When there was the Liberian Civil War, the Sierra Leone Civil War, Nigeria went in there, supported that. In Sudan, Nigeria supported all that. So it's kind of like a shame, a big nation like Nigeria, a so-called giant of Africa, giving in support from Chad Republic. So I feel it's a lot of miscalculations also from the leadership. They wanted to use it for their gain, using it as a political tool to be able to make sure that they score some votes. And remember, twice they said they've cut the leader of Boko Haram, which they didn't. They said the girls are going to be released, which they didn't. So they lost a lot of credibility because of that. But I'm just glad that, you know, Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Benin are all coming together, because now we're beginning to see some of the towns being taken over from Boko Haram, which is a great result.
Now, let's speak on the issue of elections in Nigeria. There's been mixed reaction with regards to why the elections were postponed, and, you know, some quarters were, the West, for instance, saying they should not have been postponed, they should have gone ahead. What are your views on this as a Nigerian who is based in South Africa and who's from places like Jos, which are getting attacked and suicide bomb attacks are happening?
Yeah, I feel there is no proper time for the election. I feel the election should have taken place, you know, on Valentine's Day, 14th of February. And I feel the 28th of March is also not a bad idea. But if we are to postpone it again, then it's definitely going to show that there is some sort of agenda behind the scene, either through the Electoral Commission, INEC, or through the government of President Goodluck Jonathan. And the opposition, APC, General Buhari was in London. Actually, I was watching him online this morning at Chatham House, where he spoke about, you know, they're not really ready to postpone the election. And I don't feel there's going to be a right time to conduct the election. I don't feel Nigeria is going to be safe enough to say, okay, now we can have the election. But I just feel if both parties would agree with the Electoral Commission, then it's high time we just have the election and get it over with.
The safety of the people of Nigeria. What are the people on the ground saying, and especially with the suicide attacks and the use of children? You mentioned the fact that fear is a tool that Boko Haram is using currently. What are the people of Nigeria saying on the ground?
A lot of people are just, they've lost confidence in leadership. The state governments and also the federal government, the military. Once the people used to rely on the military, but now there's just no ways, because at one point the military was running away from Boko Haram, believe it or not, which is really, really shameful for the Nigerian military to do that. But the people have lost faith in the government. I guess that's why for the first time since 1999, since Nigeria's democracy, now the ruling party is having a very strong opposition, and chances are the opposition might just win. And if they do win, it's just a case of people saying, look, we want change. Because for a nation, if the security is not really strong, then obviously you really don't have a nation, because the people will be living in fear and all that. And I feel that, you know, there's a lot of fear within people. You go to churches, you get searched, you know, anywhere you go, you're going on the bus, the same thing. You go into the mosques, you know, places where it's not normally that way. You go into an office, you get searched. So there's that kind of like fear everywhere, and the people are just saying, look, we cannot continue to live this way. And I guess that the election is their own way. They will get the opportunity to either continue with President Goodluck Jonathan or to elect a new government.
I know this is sort of moving away from the whole discussion this evening, but just to touch on former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, leaving his party. What does that say to the Nigerians, and what does that say to the opposition?
For the opposition, it just says that there's a lot of confusion amongst the leadership. He was the first PDP, that is the party, People's Democratic Party, president in 1999 when he came out of prison. And he was there for 8 years, 2 terms. And he's been, a real huge force. He's like a statesman for them. And coming out and saying, look, I've lost confidence in the party, I'm no more a member of that party, is not just going to be around the party, it's going to really make a lot of people to migrate from the PDP to other political parties. And that is, I think, the biggest shock for a lot of people. If we had had the election on the 14th of February, you know, that wouldn't have happened. But he's a very strong voice, and he's definitely going to say a lot. The electors are going to sit down and think about it and say, okay, maybe we really need to sit down and think of who we're going to vote.
Solomon, thank you so much for joining us. That was Solomon Izang Ashoms speaking to us about the Boko Haram and the recent suicide bombings in Nigeria.